want to thank you guys and welcome. My name is Kelby Smith. This is a brand new show. It's our first time we're launching this, and I'm pretty excited. I wanted to basically take a few minutes with you guys right off the bat and just thank you so much for following me for the last 10, 12 years. We've had some exciting times. I've come to a lot of knowledge, as y'all well know, and I think my number one hope for us tonight is just to get a clear understanding of what state citizenship is. So first and foremost, hold on one second. Am I still alive?
Yes, you are, Kelby.
Thanks, Jay. Sorry. First and foremost, guys, let's open up in prayer. Father God, we want to thank you so much for giving us this opportunity to pray openly, publicly, and give you the glory. Lord, so many people have a clear understanding tonight of the difference of how simple it is to be a possession of something or how we need to be free men and women under God. I'm so excited to just be a man clearly helping people be free. So Lord, set aside everything that we're doing, the knowledge, the information, and let us just grasp on simple things like the word state, the state of being, and help me to indicate to the people clearly just how enslaved they are. In Jesus' name we pray. Amen. So, Crypto Kenny. So tell me, Jason, really quick, just because I'm live and I'm getting used to this, what pops up here? Like, what was that?
So that's actually a comment that we have from our social media viewers. We already have somebody that's watching it. As you can see on your upper right-hand screen right now, you currently have 8 people that are watching the show at the moment. So any of our comments that come in through social media, I'm able to put up on the screen for you so you can see them.
Perfect. Thank you.
Absolutely.
What about people that are streaming through the application? Is that something we get reports on?
Through the actual K4HD app, maybe not, but through your social media outlets, through Facebook, through LinkedIn, through YouTube, through Twitch, stuff like that, if anybody posts anything up, that comes into our comment section. I'm able to put that up. So if there's anything that you want to respond to or a question, any of our audience members that are watching live are able to go ahead, post a question up there, and able to get that information from you.
Awesome. Thanks, Jay.
My pleasure.
So I went and put on this shirt and we're all going to crack up. I've put on probably 25 COVID pounds over the last 18 months, and I'm in shock at how tight my shirts are. So I had to undo my collar so I could breathe a little bit. But I'm sure we're all experiencing a little bit of that. I'm sure a lot of people are like, what the heck do we do? We're still going to stay at home, or we're going to be in lockdown forever. I'm going to tell you right now that you're going to see a lot of divided lines. Tonight, I'm not going to get risque per se. I'm going to clearly define some very important things that we need to be taking into consideration, because I don't think people are clearly taking into consideration all the different elements of what's happening to them. HISAdvocates.org has been a ministry that I've ran as the executive director for the last 10 years. We have a quote-unquote A+ rating with the Better Business Bureau. But what I have discovered in law is transformed thousands of people in their lives to understand that a simple thing. Ben Franklin, here's the best way to announce this. Ben Franklin was not a United States citizen. And I say that to people and they go, what? What does that even mean? And I'm going to start with some simple stuff, some basic stuff, because we've got a lot of new viewers, and I want to pull you in. I'm going to engage your mind, and I'm going to show you some things that are going to really set your whole life aside for a minute. And you're going to go, if this guy's true, if this is correct, oh my gosh. Because it clearly in law will define the difference over the next weeks and months to come on what a state citizen is. And this isn't going to be just radio or TV on the narrative of only jurisdiction within state citizenship, but people are constantly asking, What do we do about the jab? What do we do about this forced inoculations or forced this? And we're watching these things around the world. And I'm going to tell you right now, there is a thing called self-governance in this nation that we have that is unreal. Self-governance is next level thinking. It's not just a status of jurisdiction, it's a state of being. And I've named this show for that reason, so that we can transform out from this ideology of bondage where we're cuffed continually in our mind, and we can start approaching life as what we were intended to do, which is be in a state of being as self-governed, a child of the Most High God, something that a lot of people don't really realize and a lot of people aren't engaging in. And so first, I just went on I'm a licensed real estate broker in the state of California. I've done thousands of loans. I know marketable title and loans and real estate probably as good or better than anybody. One of the questions that I had on the broker's exam was, hey, Kelby, it asked me in the broker's exam and said, Kelby, are you required to register something in the county recorder? And I thought, well, of course. And yeah, you're required to register everything. And it blew my mind that I was wrong with that answer. And it hit me like a ton of bricks. I'm like, oh my gosh. And then I started deep diving so many different topics of what does registration mean? What does a body of people mean? Which we're going to get into right now. So right here is a bunch of law books. One of them is called Black's Law. Go and grab it. If you got one, or look up Black's Law online and look up the word state. Here's what I'm trying to say. Because I'm going to break it down for California, and I'll break it down so that you guys can get your minds wrapped around and be on the same page as me from now on. Because there is, in fact, in law, multiple forms of government anywhere you go. But on this nation, you have the state citizenship and United States citizenship. You have Indians, and you have an emerging artificial intelligence being ran by structures trying to bring in a one world structure right now in this nation. We're going to do everything we can to be a force that stops that. Why? Because we have the greatest nation on earth. And if this nation falls or collapses to any ideology like that, the whole world is done. I don't know if you guys are tracking what's going on in Australia, what's going on in Spain, what's going on in France, what's going on. They're kidnapping kids. They're forcing people to take a untested, uncharted, scary topic, that jab. And we've just done this crazy flip, like for the feminists in the nation, for the pro-abortion or whatever you want to call your agenda, my body, my choice. Where did that go? All of a sudden you flipped, not your body, not your choice. And this is the holdout nation. And this is why we have to start thinking for ourselves of what we have in this nation, and one person at a time, to get into the boundary of coming into the de jure, leaving de facto, coming into de jure. What does that mean? De facto, corporate. The United States is a federal corporation, Title 28, Section 3002. Did you know that the United States exclusive jurisdiction is in the District of Columbia? 9 USC 307H. I gave you just two references of the corporation known as the United States and where its exclusive jurisdiction is. Now, when you think about that, what did I just say? I said the United States is not the United States of America. Go to the Declaration. The word united on the Declaration is a lowercase u because it's an adjective describing the noun States of America. Everything across the board in this nation, they're pulling the word freedom out of everywhere. Like, you can't even watch old westerns that want to speak to the ideology of freedom anymore. They don't want free thinking people. They don't want your kids to think what freedom is, to do the Declaration or read the Declaration of Independence, or read the Constitution, or do the Pledge of Allegiance. They don't want our kids to be trained up to be good Americans. So back at the Declaration, United's an adjective describing the two jurisdictions. Think about that for a second. Back to the United States being exclusively bound to the District of Columbia. We have a jurisdiction which is a body of people on a land with a border to border. And then we have a corporation that had to create a thing called the District of Columbia to keep itself rendered in. And then, boom, they did a slam hammer in the mid 1860s, where the usurpers to the state rights were coming after the rights of all the people. The Southern people said, oh, heck no. It was not a war about freeing black people. It was a war about enslaving all the states. And the North, and Lincoln did his first executive order, really, called Field Order Number 100, because he couldn't do a lawful order. And they went to war. We were at war with each other because the states were trying to stand up against federal overreach, period. Whether taxation, whether whatever, it doesn't matter. That's when it basically started. And then they created the District of Columbia Act in 1871, where they formed a corporation out of the District of Columbia. So then the next 4, 5, 6, 7 years, 10 years, they started designing the streets and putting all these crazy symbols in there. A lot of Freemason symbols, not mocking you Freemasons. It's okay, calm down. But there's a few weird Freemasons at the 33rd degree level that seem to think worshiping Lucifer is a great thing. I don't personally follow that. I obviously opened up in prayer. I follow a very different one true God. And then they put a upside down Church of Satan symbol, pentagram, known as a Baphomet, directly in the streets of Washington, D.C. If you ever want to get information on that, go look at my video, Who Are You?, on HISadvocates.org. It's a long video, but there's 20 minutes in there where I break down that subject matter and why it's an esoteric nightmare. And then you look at, here's the craziness about this. They operated the United States Corporation as if it was America. They basically just sat up out of the seats in 1861 because we went to Civil War, quote unquote. The military kicked in and control because somebody threw that out there that the Constitution is set aside in times of war. And I'm going to assure you, it is never set aside. It is never. The Constitution basically is its own document. There's no place for that within the Constitution itself. It is not set aside in a time of war. But they needed a corporate Congress. They needed a structure that could handle the debtors, the creditors, and the people that were eventually going to step in and becoming the surety, the people, the citizens. But corporations, now this is the technical, this is the legal. Corporations cannot do business with living men or women. One Supreme Court case, go look, Rundle versus Delaware, shepherdized as active case law today. So what did they do? How does a corporation engage in doing business with a living man or woman? It's pretty simple. Create artificial persons. They've taken every word, like state, which I still will break down in blocks for you. They take person, individual, taxpayer, and you get labeled all these things, and you sign all these forms and paperwork, and you make a pretense that that is you because you put your signature on it as a taxpayer, as an individual, as an artificial person or person, whatever they call it at that point. Go look up in Black's Law the word person and all the different definitions. Guess what? Guess what? Artificial person. You know what that is? That's the citizen. Do you know what the actual person is, though? It's the birth certificate. 32-pound watermark banknote, securitized, monetized, and traded on Wall Street. The people step into an office position holding the office of the artificial person known as you, the all caps name, and I can prove every single thing that I just said. It's called a registered organization. And we'll get into that later. But this is what the corporation did to contract people into the federal territory. They created a zip code, zone improvement program. And the zip code is territory. It's 6, 8 inches, 10 inches, 1 inch, doesn't matter. It's air. It's above the ground. And then they made people believe that the federal government has autonomy over all the land across the United States of America. And if that were true, why did the states have to convey certain areas to them? USPS stores, federal buildings, schools. There's literally a chain of custody and title over those lands to the federal government. That means anything outside of that federal building, they don't have jurisdiction over. This is why, and hopefully I'm speaking to all the feds out there, because I love getting you guys as clients. I love flipping you and turning you into a free man or woman under God so that we can start working at rebuilding this great nation together from the ground up, because it's so far gone. But we still have this in the log, and we're hanging on to it for dear life. And I'm going to tell you right now, it's the good men and women at the top levels of the federal government and the state and local governments. It's the police. It's those people, the army, the military, that need to come into the private, need to start working on a localized basis, county by county. Why? Because the corporations across the board are defunct. They're absolutely in bankruptcy. HJR 192, that was the bankruptcy of the United States. You, the United States citizen, because you're holding an office to that artificial person, have become the surety, the collateral, and the debtor for the banks. For the banks that hold, remember the banks, the Federal Reserve banking system, the Federal Reserve Bank out of New York, they have an exclusive right to print money out of thin air. They get an interest minimum. The debt of this nation can't pay that interest minimum at the Federal Reserve Bank at all. And it's never going to change. This is why this whole ideology of all these people out there making these random declarations, steering people down nasty roads, talking about frivolous things, we have to fix this whole mess by going back in to what we started, which is that trust indenture known as the Declaration of Independence. And we, as one body at a time, one county at a time, re-inhabit this great nation. That's the only way to fix this. And so for me, when I started discovering some of this stuff, I was like, all right, this can't all be true. And I literally went into a spin for about 8 months. Why? Because I had nothing to do. There was no loans to do. There was no money to offer people in 2007 and 8. Yeah, like 14 years ago. And I just started verifying and validating every single thing that I'm saying to you, because I wanted to make sure I was finding it in law. And about 2010, 11, went on some seminar tours, and I stepped into, by accident, state citizenship. Totally by accident. And that's when all heck broke loose, because all the infiltrators, and there are infiltrators in every good organization, they are, because this is what they do. Subversive implementation of ideas in our country. Let's hire people to hit the streets and tear the buildings apart and do it all in the, because they wanted to get Trump out of office. Everything that these guys are doing is by plan, and they're well organized. And I'm going to give you guys credit. A couple of you are geniuses, and I think it's because you're AI, artificial intelligence, which I'm going to be discussing tomorrow on my VIP show with the VIP members of HISAdvocates.org. Artificial intelligence is not just legit, not just creepy, but it's something we are way over the top into at this moment. Like artificial intelligence is the only way this whole COVID scam, I'm sorry, this COVID, the certificate of vaccination identification, that's what it's theorized as being actually for. This whole COVID thing can only have been done by supercomputers with super minds, handling all the data, coming in at once, receiving from all the different world operations. Now, wouldn't it be just interesting if this entire thing, yes, there's committees of 300, yes, there's enforcement arms of 8,000 or 9,000 men that will do anything to enforce the rights and wills of these 300 men, not exaggerating. Yes, there are secret societies, and oh my gosh, the Illuminati does exist. George Washington himself wrote about it in his own writing, in his own letters. Go look it up. I've actually read the letter myself. It's okay, calm down. The Illuminati does exist. No big deal. So there's these secret organizations that are doing things and designing things to trick us and make us think certain things because we fail for a lack of knowledge. Biblical term. And when you think about that for a sec, you fail for a lack of knowledge. Why? Because you're not truly giving yourself people just are hearing, they pick up that phone. Oh, hey, the phone said something. Read it. AI is now reading your face, looking at your expression, knowing what picture it saw, and knows now what to market to you. Or it's listening to you and you're saying something like this and it's going through the airways, and now it's mounting up counter activities and opportunities to try to thwart this. Well, AI can only go as far jurisdictionally as it's allowed to. I know that sounds like a crazy thought process, but everything these disgusting people do, meaning the powers to be, whatever you want to call them. I don't care if you call them the Illuminati. I don't care if you call them the Bilderbergers. I don't care if you call them the banks. Powers, the guys that have power. Everything they do, they develop it to bring you to a point where you actually think what's happening is good for you. Like, let's wear masks. I'm not saying it's good or bad. I don't wear masks. Just my preference. I like to breathe. I like to feel healthy. You may have a different thought process, and that's okay. But you may want to check into really what the guys that are worried about viruses actually wear before you make your decision to put a piece of cloth over your face every day. Because you identify yourself as somebody who really doesn't deep dive. And this is the problem with America today, is we're not deep diving. We're believing the first thing that comes off the screen. And it's that everything is okay, and you go get this shot and you'll feel a lot better. And I'm going to tell you, not discussing that on tonight's show, but there's a whole different narrative that you need to understand. For us, we need to stop and think that they really create different definitions of different words that would apply to whether we were free or not. And I'm going to tell you they did. Let me give you an example. I've told this story to my members a few times, but it's an important thing for us all as we're growing together. I was in the state capitol building, the library, whatever, for California, and I asked for 2 certified copies of the Constitution, the 1849 one and the 1879 one. And he said, oh, you're one of those guys. And I didn't want to debate with him where he went with that, a sovereign thing. And I'm like, no, I'm not a sovereign. I'm a child of God, and technically he is a sovereign. So, and as a state citizen, the rights of the king pass to the state. Well, people immediately apply that word state to a body of corporations that are working to serve the people or working against the people, whatever. The word state actually means, guys, in their law book, the Black's Law, a body of people, the lowercase definition of state. Then you look at the capitalized word state, their book, their definition, a community of persons bound by federal territory. Wait a minute, what happened to people? So this book that takes Supreme Court cases and different, decisions out there, and then puts the definition curated by the judge or whomever in the judgment for these particular cases, or the opinions by the judge, and it puts these definitions into a thing called Black's Law. And Black's Law is in my book. I don't, it's not my dictionary, but I'm using their book to show you what they think about you. So in America, when we were first formed, like the state of California in 1849, that was a body of people. Then in 1879, the corporation for California kicked in. You know how you know that? It's pretty simple. So I'm talking to this librarian, whatever he is, the guy, the curator for all the archives for California. And I said, this is the 1849 Constitution, correct? And this is a certified copy. This is legit. You did this yourself. And he said, yeah. And I said, this is the 1871 certified copy of the Constitution. Yes. And I said, awesome. And I said, okay, so this one is still active law, the 1849 one, correct? He said, yeah, correct. And I said, the 1879 one's active law still today, correct? Yeah, correct. And I pushed the 1879 one forward. And I said, show me in the 1879 where it actively annuls, amends, abolishes, gets rid of, stops. Nothing. There's nothing in the 1879 Constitution that deals with the 1849 Constitution. There are still 2 active laws today. Long story short, I looked at the guy. I said, I wish I'd have said this, but he basically had told me nobody's ever said anything like that before to where he could understand. But I wish I knew what I knew today, because I would have pushed that state 1849 one forward, and I would have said, hey, this is what is representing a body of people in Black's Law. Instead, I had him pull out Black's Law, and I had him define some different things regarding state. That lowercase definition of state is a body of people. The all caps definition of state is a community of persons. 2 very different things. One for the Declaration of Independence and for a constitution that is for the people, and one for the corporation that started in the early 1800s, got its seat of government in 1871, and now the people were stepping in one at a time through the 14th Amendment. You thought to free the black people, but to give the entire citizenry of the United States of America a reduced class citizenship. You want me to prove it? Let's do it. In the original Constitution, the word citizen is capitalized. Starting in the 14th Amendment, it's a reduced class citizen because it's for the first time, a lowercase c. You can go and do your own investigation and then do your deep dive, and you're going to come to the same conclusions I do. How do they get people from being people, men and women of the Most High God, self-governed? How do they get us from here to there? Adhesion contracts, threats, our lack of understanding of truth, and the fact that they created a corporation with the same name as the one that this nation, greatest nation on earth, was founded over. But here's the thing. They could not let it go, meaning the original lawful de jure America. Shelby versus Norton County, one Supreme Court case, got to read 1876, okay, or 1879. That case shows you the difference in law of de jure and de facto. And you will find it's consistent throughout the law. When de jure exists, when the people have stood up, the de facto must go away. It uses those words in Shelby versus Norton County, in corpus juris secundum regarding grand juries. When the de jure exists, the de facto must go away. So they couldn't stop and just start a corporation and operate in honor. They couldn't do that. They had to leave the de jure greatest nation on earth intact and in place, except the people got out of those seats in 1861 and didn't go back until 2012. And I'm not going to get into that tonight, but it has been re-inhabited. And they're not pretending to be government. They just did it first in line, first in time, bottom up. All the states convened, all the assemblies convened, and they all got together and they did re-inhabit. And that stopped the plans of the dark forces, whatever, from coming onto this nation and wiping it out. And God used a few good people out there, and he always does, to sit down in those seats vacated in 1861. And you know what the mockery is of this? The FBI and DOJ will go around and say that group is the head of the sovereign citizens. Wait a minute. Hold on, guys. In America, FBI, DOJ, whoever, in America, we are all self-governed. So you can call us whatever you want, but there are some in America, like 315 million people, that didn't know we were being sleight of hand into contracts to a corporation and reducing our citizenship class to a sub-citizenship class, taking us out of being an active citizen. Law of nations, thick. It's what every country runs off of. Subsection 213. The inhabitants, as distinguished from citizens, are foreigners who are permitted to settle and stay within the country, bound to the society by their residence. Residence is one of those words, much like person. We'll talk about that in a sec. They are subject to the laws of the state while they reside in it, and they are obligated to defend it because it grants them protection, although they do not participate in all the rights of citizens. They enjoy only the advantages which the law or custom gives them. The perpetual inhabitants are those who have received the right of perpetual resident. These are kind of citizens of an inferior order. I can go on. So they use residential rental agreements, residential loan agreements, IRS forms, job application forms, bank agreements, all saying I am a United States lowercase citizen, I am an individual, I am a person, I am a resident, I am a taxpayer, by your own desire to hold that office of that person known as your birth certificate, and to live out that office holder position of that person on every application. Do you know if they want to get an indictment against you, they have to prove subject matter jurisdiction? I'm going to tell you right now, it's zip code, zip code, zip code. You can outline in almost every indictment and every warrant how they got it. And all we did as a ministry, as a body of people, trust me, there's a team working on this, guys, for you. All we did as a body of people is we digressed, dissected, and do what they did to determine how they got that jurisdiction. Oh, we got to deal with those contracts. We got to remove them. But Kelby, if I don't have a driver's license, I can't do anything. I'll get pulled out by my dreadlocks or my they'll put a suction cup on my bald head and pull me out that window, and I won't be able to drive. That's true. But did you know there's a way to have that driver's license as a state citizen without granting jurisdiction? Did you know there's ways to have the bank accounts without granting jurisdiction? There's ways of bringing in compensation without having income or to file a tax return. And this is where I want to get into it big with you. Guys, the way that they are running things, first and foremost, it can't be fixed. The Congressional Budget Office said it won't be fixed. It will never be fixed. We are in a perpetual state of decline forever and ever, which means every single citizen of the United States of America is going to get branded and marked as property because there is a clause that allows them to patent DNA as of 6 years ago if it's been altered, which is why we're dealing with what we're dealing with. They want to be able to patent and mark its property. Ooh. I'm not kidding. Look, that's not an exaggeration. That's just, it is what it is. There's a beast system, again, powers to be, whatever you want to call it. And we're called to get out of it. Biblically, like crap. Even from a secular standpoint, don't you want out of something that you didn't know you were a party in that are now, I mean, go look around the world at the people that gave up the things that protect them, like in Australia, their guns. Look at what's going on. This nation's a little different, and it does require artificial intelligence. And they do these tests, and they push in areas, and they control the votes. They control every element of everything because it's AI. Everything. You can't go through a street light without them knowing where you're at. Not just by your phone, by the facial recognition. They want to know where their property is at all times. Is their property making them money? Well, I don't want to annihilate them. I'm going to let God deal with that. Because in law, we can peacefully co-inhabit. And I believe we're going to see a nation separated. California may just become an island. Who knows? But in law, we can legally separate. We can legally do something different than being a part of that. And we have an entire structure and an entire system, and we actually get passports where we apply as a state of the union citizen. We don't put a social on there. We don't put an address with a zip code on there. We actually say we're not United States citizens. We now understand the difference in law. We are a state of the union citizen. We're born proud American. We actually give it in a big way to where they take the application, look at it, send a rebuttal letter. Nah, this doesn't work. You're not going to get a passport. And then we respond to the rebuttal letter and boom, get a passport. Why? Because they lie on the applications. They've lied about what a citizen is. They lied about what a national is. They lie about everything. These guys have created words in their system to get jurisdiction over the people. They don't even have on the application state of the union citizen. Why is that? Because they're frauding the people. They don't even have on the system ivermectin or hydroxychloroquine. Why? They don't want what's best for this nation anymore. Whoever they are, I want what's best for this nation. I want what's best for America. And I think we can coexist with these crazy guys in law because it's already written in a law. All we have to do is live it out and let God deal with him because he's coming, whether you want to believe it or not. You didn't go from the goo to the zoo to you. I mean, he is coming. But I don't believe in much of what is being touted in the movies Left Behind. I don't believe in that narrative. I believe it's going to be very different. Here's my point. I've been a pretty sound Christian for 25, 26 years. Make mistakes like everybody else. I've been a businessman. I've stepped into huge piles of crap and got out clean. This has been a push for me like never before in my life. It's actually a ministry. For the first time, I'm not wanting to do business per se. I'm wanting to free the world. And we are helping people free the world. And there are things that have to be done both in law for people to have a right over your body, over your children's bodies, because it's coming. Who would have thunk a couple years ago when we were resting on the beach that just a few months later you would be arrested for resting on the beach? Who would have thunk that? I wouldn't have thought that. What's round 4 or 5 or 7? Do remember something, guys. They do call this Agenda 21, 2030, whatever. Agenda 2021, Agenda 2030. That means, according to the law of them, the corporations, that 192 countries got together and wrote this agenda for the world. And basically what they said is they're going to depopulate and push everybody into the cities and get them out of the suburbs. And then they created a lot of cool movies to get people used to that thinking and that thought process. And everything that they are doing is to get you ready and pumped up. And they're entertaining you all the way to the very end. Hey, Jason, I'm supposed to close with a tagline in 9 minutes or 8 minutes, and I don't even know what that tagline is, but I wrote it yesterday, and it's important. If you can grab that for me and just let me know what that is, it'd be much appreciated.
Okay.
I know, that's funny. So here we are, guys. We're in a defining moment in history. We're at a time, literally, where influences outside of this nation can control the entire narrative of what we hear, what we see on TV, what we see on billboards. You can call it an influence from China. You can call it an influence from the one world order. You can call it whatever you want. You're going to make your own mind up about all that, whether it's just your secular world, meaning a non-God driven world, and you just want to come out of that. You just want to live in the private where they can't bother you, touch you. We'll help you. You might be a believer after listening to us for a while, and it's okay to be a believer. So there's no weakness in Christianity, and I don't even like the word, to be honest with you. I don't like the word Christian, and the only reason why I say that is because most Christians don't know what being a Christian is. So for me, this nation needs men and women again. We need to let go of the artificial persons. We need to let go of the things that are making these guys lots and lots of money, because this is what they do. Corporations are investing into your birth certificate because that's the only collateral left, is a workforce of people that say they're all U.S. citizens and happy employees of the United States. Because whether you're an employee for Dow Jones or whether you're an employee for the United States of America, you're filling out forms like a W-4 and a W-9, and it says across the top, United States. It means you're an employee of the United States. And any corporation that's registered within the United States is a subcorporation to the United States. I know, hard to understand. We'll get into this. We'll start explaining some of this stuff out. But guys, for me, help me to help you. Start waking up, because you can't fix a broken thing like this corporation. What has to happen is you just let them do what they're going to do, and we step out, because God's promises of stepping out are pretty amazing. But the legal ramifications of stepping out are even more amazing, because you're not the property of them anymore, because you have created the new contract through a series of steps that we do for you and help you in writing these letters and getting them accomplished, so that you can be a State of the Union citizen. And if you don't think that you have to do this, and you think that some guy named Donald Trump is going to get back into office and make a declaration for you, stop. He's running a corporation, guys. And I'm not going to get into what he said in the very end, but guys, you can't fix that. You can only generate the hearts of the millions and billions of people to understand that state citizenship isn't a region in California. State citizenship isn't a corporation. State citizenship is a body of people looking around at each other. We are united under God, because that's what the Declaration says. And as that state citizen under God, we are self-governed and we are the sovereign. I'm not calling myself a sovereign citizen. I cannot walk on water. I've tried. But according to the law, your law, in Black's law, the sovereignty of the king passed to me as a self-governed man or woman. You don't want me to be a sovereign? Okay. All I know is I am a child of the Most High. I am self-governed. So call it whatever you want. But international treaty law, international law in itself, protects what is not contracted to the corporation. They can't help you if you've agreed, and hear me out, please, please, please. They, whoever the powers are, cannot help you if you voluntarily consented your life away. You did it. You signed off on all those forms, agreeing to everything. Subsection form of this, boom, 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 that happens to have 700 pages. You didn't read that. And it's an adhesion contract. I got it. Guess what? It's actually an adhesion trust. You're creating a way of doing business with that corporation by operating that person in a form and fashion that is honorable. Or just stop operating that person, which is what I did a long time ago. Welcome to A State of Being. My name is Kelby Smith. I'm really excited that you've joined us tonight. I'm very much looking forward to breaking down a lot of things for people, showing what's happening in current events and helping you to understand how to tiptoe through it and have a life. And we're creating men and women. Oh, Jason, give it to me. We're creating men and women that are self-governed, that don't operate out of fear and will stand up against tyranny. Because I'm going to tell you right now, if you, Jason, give me how many, like 15 seconds or whatever. Sorry.
You got about a minute 4 left.
All right. Thanks, buddy. So you have that choice in your life to operate any way you want. And they've created all these terms and conditions, and you gave it up. Well, we can help you have it back and help you be in honor under God and rock this. I'm going to tell you right now, guys, this country is coming back, but the corporations are going to go away, and there's going to be one nation right next to the next nation, sheep and goat nations all over, and we're going to see some amazing, amazing things. So remember, you can choose your state of being. Thank you for... You're born to be an American. And if that interests you, and it better, you need to call us right away at the number below and visit us at our website at HISAdvocates.org. Thank you.